Not yet. It's still thinking. Okay, we are now. Hey, Wally, how do I turn the camera around?
Go to settings.
Settings. Is that under more?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just say it's pointed at me. I'm going to turn around in a second. I'll say, hey, this is Scott in the stern. We just went through Memphis, and we're feeling pretty good, I think. What do you guys think? You feeling good? So I go to settings, and then I go to layout, recording, general. Okay, and then what? And what?
Camera.
I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's camera.
Yeah.
Front camera, rear camera. Okay. All right, you guys are on now. They can see you. Going 9 miles an hour and into the wind. Yeah. And we're 402 feet left of the channel because the sternman is dinging around. Yeah, that's also true. I think I'm actually staying away.
Starboard.
Yeah. So last night we stayed at Dale Sanders' house at his adventure barn. And this morning, what was it, 25 degrees? It's got to be at least 35 now. And let's see, we're just going to paddle until the evening, until dusk. And then we're staying at the Quapaw Canoe Company with John Rusky. And looking forward to that. Hey, Tracy Danner Burnett is watching. She said heat wave. Tracy, we miss you. Up. Tracy, we wish you were here too, but we're looking forward to seeing you in May. "10 miles an hour. Yeah, crazy. Beautiful.
Friends, don't forget, if you want to see where we're at, we've got our trackers on. You can track us.
Yeah, and the link to the tracker is at MississippiSpeedRecord.com. Actually, I think it's in the pinned post on the Facebook page too. We're just south of Memphis, and I believe we're heading into a pretty wild place with not a lot of ramps and pretty wildernessy.
So, I wanted to, Scott, have you explain to the people there about yesterday. So if you may have been following us, or if you're wondering what happened, we were planning on going a long way, weren't we?
We were planning on going for 42 hours nonstop. But within minutes of putting into the river, we were in what we're calling the washing machine. And Paul Cox in the bow was piercing through 4-foot waves and slamming Paul in the face and chest.
Didn't you post some pictures of that up on the Facebook page?
I did, yeah, a little video. I didn't get any footage of the worst stuff, but what I posted was plenty serious. And so after about 2.5, 3 hours in the cold temperatures and the strong winds, and we just decided we had learned a bunch, and for safety reasons, we called it, hoping that today the conditions would be better. And believe it or not, these conditions are dramatically better.
So, Scott, I'm sure some people are thinking this. So why didn't you guys just keep going? Why didn't we just
Well, that's a really good question. We absolutely could have done that, and that's what we'll have to do in May if the conditions are similar. But we'll have a couple differences in May. We'll have a safety boat with us, and it's very unlikely it'll be that cold when we get down south here in the Big River in May.
Now, did you see anything on the banks yesterday?
Well, good point, Wally. We were a heck of a long way from civilization. So that's a good point. If we had flipped over and gotten to shore, which is no easy feat, it'd still be a long time before anybody could come and retrieve us. So that's very good. Yeah, exactly. Somebody wrote, this is about to, we met you guys below Cape Girardeau on the Virginia Ingram. Oh, wow, that's so cool. That's a barge. I remember the Virginia Ingram. You guys remember that? Is it the Virginia Ingram boat we surfed behind?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's so awesome. Tanner Wright. Shout out to the Virginia Ingram. Woo! This is our final training trip, Tanner, before our trip in May.
So you have to explain a little bit, Scott, about the Tanner Ingram on our last trip. We encountered a lot of barges, right?
Yes.
Tanner Ingram was one of them?
The Virginia Ingram, yep.
I'm sorry, Virginia.
Yeah, Tanner just said thanks for the shout out. Tanner, you guys were so awesome. Thank you so much. I know we weren't communicating as quite as good as we'd like to. We're still figuring out the marine radio, so we really appreciated you guys, your guys' patience with us.
But it wasn't any ordinary passage, was it?
It sure was not, because we surfed both behind and alongside them, right?
Yeah.
And then we got pretty close, wedged between them and the shore at one point, if I recall. But that was fun.
Right. You definitely let us know when it was done.
Oh. And we can see the deckhands out working on the barge, probably, 50 feet from us, Wally?
I think we were a little safer distance than 50 feet, but it was close.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys know Jericho before? He just gave us a shout out.
All right, Jericho.
Jericho! Woo! You know what? This StreamYard, I can see the comments way more easy than I can on Facebook. We're cruising at 9.7 miles an hour into a headwind.
So, getting back to yesterday, too. The barges, why just speak a little bit about the barges?
Holy cow! There was a lot of barges yesterday, and in the high winds, we had a hard time hearing what they were saying on the marine radio. And that was another reason why we got off, because we just we don't want to mess with the barges.
So the whole time we were on the water, I could see that we were dealing with some type of barge traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
One coming at us and one coming from behind us the whole time.
And we saw the rocket ship.
Oh, yes.
I love that name. Hey, you guys want to stop by this grain silo and fill her up? I'm pretty sure that this is actually a spiz silo.
Yeah. So speaking of spiz, this is probably a good time to thank some of our sponsors, wouldn't it?
Wally, that's an excellent idea. I'll start out by saying thank you to Mullenkamp. I believe the website is muhlenkamp.com. Investment advice. Thank you to Mullenkamp. Let's see who else we got, Wally.
Dahl
Automotive. If you need a car, DAHLauto.com in the La Crosse area. Actually, I learned about it. Dahl Auto serves, Judd, is it the 5 River area or 6? Winona, La Crosse, Onalaska. That's awesome.
They serve everywhere. Winona and La Crosse.
Yeah, Dahl Auto. One Mississippi. Hey, now that's awesome. So the number 1 Mississippi.org. If you go to onemississippi.org, you can become a river citizen, and they, for free, they will send you all kinds of information a couple times a year about events related to the Mississippi River, actions you can take to help protect the Mississippi River, and what they also coordinate amongst like 70 stakeholder agencies up and down the entire river. They're the only organization focused on the entire river.
So, Scott, let me stop you right there real quick.
Oh.
We're talking about some of the sponsors. How might somebody be involved with our trip on a sponsorship level?
Okay, good question. What you'd want to do is email us at mississippispeedrecord@gmail.com, and we can talk about it. And if we come to an agreement, you can get a sticker on our canoe, and you can get a shout out like this. And yeah, we would definitely take more sponsors.
And how else might they be able to provide financial support if it's not necessarily a business?
Okay, they can buy a T-shirt, and we'll have some other swag available at some point here. But right now, there's T-shirts available at MississippiSpeedRecord.com, and on that same website, you can make a donation too.
Fantastic. And we'd love all the donations, and we thank everybody who has donated already and anybody who's anticipating donations. Thank you so much.
And I'll tell you, what we really use the donations for, by and large, is for gas and food for our support group, because we have an unbelievable support group. And there's like all these people on shore that are making food and making hydration and following along at every ramp. So shout out to Moose and Bronwyn and Brad. And you know I'm going to forget somebody and regret having gone down this path. Ryan, thank you, Ryan Church. And Mindy Schroeder-Craigness. Actually, she said her name is just, oh God, why did I go down this path? Mindy, you know who you are. And then, you know what other sponsor I want to shout out?
Well, your own, of course.
Well, I was thinking about Embark.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
Because I have been drinking these maple syrup drinks that are so delicious. Yeah. Hey, check it out. Check it out. Embark Maple Energy. That one's the coffee.
I think I'm going to have a little hit of this right now.
Hey-oh, need a little caffeine shot.
Right.
Wally, how is it, man? Is it good?
Fantastic.
So delicious. You can use it like a gel, or you can mix it in your water like Gatorade. But here's the thing. It's way better than Gatorade because it's natural. It doesn't have any weird dyes or ingredients. The one you're drinking, Wally, I think it's just some salt, some coffee, and some maple syrup. So thank you to Embark.
Yummy. Oh, yeah. Actually, thank you for that. That was my transition as to why we were going over here to the grain silo so we could get some of the silos filled with bark.
Yeah, thank you. I'm hoping for salted caramel. What about you?
I'm looking at salted caramel. I love the chocolate coffee.
Yeah, I bet.
The elderberry is favorite judge in the front.
That's right. And what's ironic about that is Judd likes the elderberry despite being the baby of the canoe. All right, we're cruising at 10.6.
Are we in the channel over here? Or are we,
I'm way left.
The channel kind of hugging the bank there.
Yeah, like it always does. Outside of the bend is usually where it is. And it's just, it's so easy to just stop paying attention.
Right.
Tracy Danner Bernard says, you guys are so entertaining. Thank you, Tracy. We tried.
Why don't we start the dancing?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure C2 is the dancing
entertainment.
Yeah, that's right. Paul, turn and say hi to the camera. There he is, Paul Cox. Woo! Up.
And so some of the other sponsors, let's get them in. So we've got Joe's stuff, which is Midwest Paddle Racing, right?
Yeah, shout out to Joe Mann, the 5th member of our team. He's our backup paddler, and he's kind of the key to this whole thing. He brought on all these guys in the canoe, and he has 2 different paddling businesses, right? MidwestPaddleRacing.com. He stages 5 or 6 races in Missouri, and then he's also got Riverhawk Boat Shop, kayak.com, where he makes, I mean, basically the fastest kayak there is, kind of. Is that
Flat
water kayak?
River racing.
Yeah, it wins river races, and they're absolutely gorgeous to boot.
I've got one. Let me know if you want to try around.
If you're in the Atlanta area, especially.
Yeah. So, and we got Midwest Paddle Racing, which is for Midwest Paddle Racing. It pretty much says it all in the name, doesn't it? But like Missouri centric, and around that area. Joey runs a great series of races there. And speaking of great series of races, Scott, why don't you talk a little bit about your?
Well, I'll tell you, I was inspired to start some races in Minnesota because the Missouri races are so awesome. And so if you go to twopaddles.org, TWOpaddles.org, you can join us in June, second weekend in June. We got a 150-mile race on the Mississippi River in Minnesota. We got a 48-mile race on the Mississippi. We got a 25-mile race, a 10-mile race, a high school race, a family race, and we got a recreational tour. So we got something for everybody from beginner to Wally Werdrich style and everything in between. Woo! And I am very thankful for our sponsors because we just couldn't do this without them.
And if I may, I'd like to give a shout out to the St. Charles Canoe Club. The St. Charles Canoe Club is where I've been paddling for most of my life. I started paddle racing when I was 18 years old, or actually 17 years old. Quickly hooked up with the St. Charles Canoe Club out of St. Charles, Illinois. It's a really, really neat group of paddlers that puts on races in the Illinois area and encourages paddle sports and paddle racing right across the board. And, you can see their website at stcharlescanoeclub.org.
And in fact, two members of the St. Charles Canoe Club won the 150-mile race on the Mississippi in Minnesota last year. Patrick McCarthy and Jim Peckus won that race, so that speaks highly to the St. Charles Canoe Club to come up to Minnesota and win the inaugural race.
We like to pride ourselves on some good paddlers.
Yes, indeed. See, what I like about today is it gives you a feel for, it can be windy and we can be fine. Just yesterday, it just can't be hurricane gale force, Hey, by the way, Dale Sanders told me that there's an RV park right here that our support crew could stay at. It's hard to get into, but sure is a nice location. Okay, we got Julie Burgess. Looks so much better than yesterday. Julie?
Oh my gosh.
Julie, you are very accurate.
It's still cold though.
It is.
It is still very windy.
But what's nice is, is anybody cold right now? So that's what's great. It's cold, but at least with the right gear, we can be warm.
I'm not superstitious. As soon as you stop paddling, you'll get really
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. Julie said, laugh out loud. It's good to know, though, that the conditions come through on the video. People can tell.
Well, one of the things that I was talking with my son last night, and I think everybody can speak to this a little bit, but my son kept asking what made the conditions so much worse yesterday as opposed to a day like today, where we've got wind and we have got a cold temperature. But why was yesterday such a different day, such a different feel to what we were doing than yesterday?
Well, it's such a good question. I think it was just that today the wind is about 10 miles an hour. Yesterday it was gusting to 30.
It was consistent too.
Yeah, it really was.
And then, we can't get away from this, but on top of that,
Yeah, it could change again in a dime, but today we've had a lot less barge traffic than yesterday. And that'll vary, but it's awfully nice to get a little break. Now, that being said, there is a barge coming from behind us, but he's still a ways back.
But I can't stress that enough. One of the weird, not only were the conditions bad yesterday, that almost the whole time that we were on the river, we were having to be aware and deal with barge traffic, like imminent barge traffic, not just a barge coming, but either one behind us that we're having to deal with, or one or two, or even three.
Yeah.
And I just took a break to eat and put gloves on. We really didn't have much chance to do that yesterday. It was like speed up, speed up, speed up.
It's all hands on deck.
So Tracy just asked, what kind of gear do you wear to stay dry and warm? I think all of us have some kind of long underwear on. Is that true?
Yep.
And then a lot of us are wearing muck boots, which keep our feet warm. Arctic muck boots.
At this point, I can't endure.
Nice. And of course, the most important thing is that we're all wearing life jackets, obviously. And then a lot of us have like a base layer on our top half, and then we got like a midweight layer, and then some of us have like a windbreaker on. And some people are wearing gloves and a lot of winter hats. And we actually put on sunscreen today.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, or have you speak to, is the layers. You say that you've got 3 layers on. That seems like a lot, but why would you use layers?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, as opposed to just one really hot, heavy, big winter coat. You know, you'd think that'd be good, but the nice thing about layers is we don't really want to get sweaty. So if we start getting a little too hot or a little too cold, we can just either shed or add a layer so that we don't get too hot or too cold. Because once you overheat, then you're in danger of getting too cold, because then the sweat freezes and your clothes get wet. So you want as soon as you start feeling too hot or too cold, you want to change, either add or subtract a layer right away. And of course, the other thing that helps us to stay warm is the canoe cover. Like Wally's got the canoe cover pulled up over his legs right now, and it makes a difference, doesn't it, Wally?
It does. But one of the things that was hardest to deal with yesterday, and perhaps Judd or Paul can speak to this if you guys can hear them, that we were going up and down in those waves, and these guys got really, really wet. So what happened after that, Paul?
Yeah, so when we go up the waves, you obviously hit the trough or the distance or the space between the waves, so the boat would drop and pierce through. How tall do you think the waves were yesterday?
I think they were 4 feet trop to tip.
I would say even more than that.
Maybe 5 feet.
Yeah.
5 or 6 feet.
6, yeah. Okay, you guys are awesome, because whenever the old, I'm with you guys. I think they were 5 to 6.
And you just or the chest with the water and the wind on top of that. It was really hard to, like Scott was saying, maintain a level temp. Then you'd maybe get out of the wind for just a minute, and then the wind would kick up and you'd freeze again. So it was really hard to keep. And then the water is much, I was wearing a full skirt on, but water would trickle in, down my pants.
He likes to wear skirts, by the way.
Well, it was just impossible. And the biggest problem is we were all just having to work the whole time. The way the body has to have fuel to burn, to heat your body. That calories, and you kind of run out of fuel. So it's real concerning that you can't be enough.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, I got a question about that plant for the coffee. It's really good stuff. How might you be able to get it?
Well, right now you can contact our team. I think it's the best way. But pretty soon we'll be selling it.
Up.
Our goal is to hopefully sell it on Amazon and other ways that's more accessible.
So Tarantula Coffee, if you're interested in getting it, You look to MississippiSpeedRecord.com. That's basically our information portal. And on MississippiSpeedRecord.com, there's lots of information on how to contact us, either through Facebook or email. Probably the best way. Wouldn't you say that, Judd?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
But anything for our trip, the best portal is just easy to remember, MississippiSpeedRecord.com.
Looking back behind us, how far back is that start?
A mile, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't see it. We're trying to maintain a steady gap, aren't we?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think so.
Scott, as long as we're live streaming here, we've got 4 people paddling right now. We're all paddling, but that's going to be relatively unusual, isn't it?
It is, in fact, the plan is to only ever have 3 people paddling for 16 hours a day. And then for 8 hours a day overnight, we'll only have 2 people paddling because either 1 or 2 people will be sleeping in the center of the canoe under the canopy.
And so you've done this before, and there's a lot of trial and error involved, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain the logic behind that?
Well, what we learned, you can go 24 or 48 or even 72 hours with very little sleep, but it's hard to go for 16 days. You got to get sleep. You got to keep the sleep tank filled. So if each guy gets 2 4-hour chunks off a day, he's probably only going to sleep for 3, 4, 5 hours of that 8 hours, maybe 6 or 7. But he also has to eat and change clothes and maybe even go to the bathroom. So it's just a matter of keeping the sleep tank filled.
So we kind of have a rotation on that, don't we?
We do, yeah. The 2 guys in the middle, like right now, Judd and I are in the bow and stern, and Paul and Wally are in the middle. So they're supposed to be, one of them is supposed to be taking a break right now, but we're all too excited. Up.
So one of the other things that I'd like to talk about, because I'm sure that my wife, either she's watching now or she is probably going to tune in a little bit later and watch this. So she's always on my case about safety. Rightfully so, right?
Absolutely.
I've been on a lot of crazy adventures in my life, and she's always the one that's reining me back in. Paul, why don't you, I'm sorry, Scott, why don't you speak to some of the safety things that we are doing on this boat and safety just overall on the trip?
Well, having a safety boat, we're going to have a safety boat in May. And that's such a huge thing to have a safety boat. And then you can actually hear the marine radio going off. That's the barges talking to each other. And sometimes they say things like, hey, there's a bunch of yahoos in a canoe out here. So the marine radio is part of our safety plan. And then the wearing a life jacket at all times, of course, is part of our safety plan. And the safety boat is part of our safety plan. And then making sure we get enough food and drink at all times. And then the canoe cover. And actually, we got to give a shout out to Scott Duffus. Amen. Because Scott Duffus is a crucial member of our support crew. And he has done a bunch of things to the canoe that really add to our safety, including A-Dog in Missouri put a hard cover on the front of the boat. And that hard cover really helps because if a wave breaks over the bow, that hard cover helps that wave. That Duffus actually put in an auto bailer, or what do you call it? Auto bailer. It sits in the floor of the bow of the canoe, and if we get over an inch of water in there, it automatically turns on and starts firing water out over the gump. Like yesterday, yeah. And what powers that is the central electrical wiring system. This whole canoe is electrified, and it runs off a single lithium-ion battery, and none of how to have in wet environments, and he figured out how to recharge everything and power our stern lights and our bow lights. Man, there's a lot of safety stuff, isn't there, Wally?
There is. how about this
Up.
ride right now?
So guys, we're getting a shout out from somebody named Anita Werderich.
Hey, all right.
Woohoo!
How you doing, Mom? Thanks for joining us. She's gonna be on our support crew.
Hey, she is going to be on our support crew. And so is your dad.
Right. I'm blessed to have a family that loves to do this stuff.
And we're lucky to have them. They're actually going to be, now, I don't want to speak out of turn, but they're bringing their RV, right?
I think that they're trying to get that all lined up. Yes.
And even if they're not, they're going to be part of our base camp setup. And that's just going to be tremendously helpful. So we just paddled up a headwind for a few miles, and now we're
The river's turned.
oh man, is it nice. What's that?
He's jumping ahead. I don't know. I can't tell if it's board or not.
Yeah.
Container, square thing. Square container.
That's a garbage skiff at the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
And then river left, there is a bar coming out.
Okay, yeah, wow. So the channel is it goes straight ahead of us here, and then it bends off to the left. So a no man's land is out there to the right.
Okay.
But there's also a wing dam over there.
There is. I can see it. I see the wing dam. I think I see it.
Yeah.
Sort of horizon line, right? Yeah, I can see it kind of horizon line and foam a bit.
I feel like I could ditch out right or left if I needed to. So and I'm not going to make a decision yet because it's hard to know, what's moving. And
Can you get on the radio and ask them or no?
we could, but what I like to do is get a feel for what I want to do and then let them know. I mean, my feeling is we're going to want to pass on the ones. All right, I'll radio them. What the hell? It's good practice. I mean, what the heck? Sorry, Mom. Hey, my mom is actually on right now. I look up and she says, "Hi, Scott. Looking good." Hey, Mom. This is downstream canoe at mile 727.4, calling the upstream barge. Do you copy? I got no call back. I'm just going to tell them what we're doing. We're going to run right bank descending. We'll be out of the channel. We'll pass you on the ones. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. This is southbound canoe. We're going to run outside the channel, right bank descending, and pass you on the ones if that's all right. Appreciate it. Oh, I love that interaction. Copy that. Oh my God, I was just talking to the upstream and downstream barge, and they're on board for us being right bank to. So we'll channel.
Why don't you explain what that means, passing on the ones and passing on the twos there?
So what it means, it's a great question. So the bar their whistle once if they're gonna pass another whistle, and if they're gonna pass starboard to starboard, well, now I think I'm saying it right. That's a two whistle.
Somebody will correct you if you're saying it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like the guy coming behind us, he said he's going to pass us on the two. Well, I think that means his two, or his. So, yeah, so his perspective, if you're passing them on the port versus starboard side.
So, yeah, in that
Up. Today. Is it, Anita? The river is so much kinder today. Oh, what would you say, guys? Yesterday was like a 10 out of 10, and right now is like a 1. I mean, it's a dramatic difference.
The only thing that would bring it up is just dealing with the temperature.
Yeah, that's true.
And then also, when we do hit the headwinds, we have
Yes.
a little bit to deal with. So I amend it. I'm saying 2.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely a 2 or 3 a little bit ago, for sure. But right now,
Oh.
we're going 10.3 miles an hour.
Goes barge.
Seat 4's out for a second because I'm gonna actually move the phone around and show everybody the barges and stuff and show them the cover. So there's a barge right over there, and we talked to them on the marine radio. It's passing the that we're doing, and I don't know if you can see them, but they're going to pass us on our port side as well. Then we got is this barge just sitting there over there?
It looks like it's moving, but it's not. It's changed.
Okay.
And then for the record, there's a 3rd barge too at 11 o'clock.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah, here it comes.
Oh, I'm losing signal here. All right, I'm going to end the live stream here. Anybody got anything else they want to say?
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Anita.
If you haven't already, smash that like button. Helps us get out in the algorithm.
That's right. And if people don't know can't watch us on Facebook, we're on YouTube Live now, thanks to Wally's StreamYard. So,
and then lastly, all your information portal for all things Mississippi Speed Record, MississippiSpeedRecord.com. You make a donation, buy Mississippi Speed Record merchandise, and learn a little bit more about the trip if you don't know already. And our sponsors. Thank you very much, all our sponsors.
And last but not least, shout out to Barb Tyndall who's watching. I actually get to go and hang out and talk about the trip with her 4th grade classroom in Monticello, Minnesota, in just a few days. And they've been cheering for us. And every time we get more snow, they say it's okay. They're an outdoor classroom and they got to traipse through all the snow, but they say this snow will help Scott because the river will be higher. So thank you. Yeah, wow. Barges everywhere and nice sunshine. Okay.